the New York Jets are not only the biggest joke in the city, the New York Jets are the biggest joke in sports. So a couple of days ago, this guy from the Bills, Dion Dawkins, makes fun of us, right? Arrows here, daggers there, clown show. All right, you take it on the chin, you keep it moving. Then of all people, McCall Hardman, who won a Super Bowl after he left the Jets, has the audacity to come out and sling the same arrows and take shots at us. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, the crazy thing is, I don't think either one of these guys is wrong. The joke's on us. So I don't even know. I look at, oh, God almighty. I can't stand what this team does to me. I really can't. Like, the one thing about the New York Jets, and I think I've proven as resilient as any Jet fan around, delusional, resilient, combination, hybrid, whatever. Nobody ruins my day like the Jets. Because think about this. Even if Hardman's wrong, it's probably not. Even if Dion Dawkins is wrong, it's probably not. Think about these three things that Jets have coming into this offseason, which, by the way, will be addressed today by Joe Douglas. I almost said Hugh Douglas. By Joe Douglas, who's going to speak.
You might rather have Hugh Douglas.
Bring it back, right? Yeah. He's going to speak at noon. So even if these guys are wrong in their assertions that the Jets are a complete mess, and let's face it, we know that they're not because we watch the Jets and we live it. So, but if they are wrong, okay, well, maybe the 41-year-old quarterback can fix it. Maybe the clueless head coach can fix it. Maybe the offensive line right now that has two people on the depth chart, they can fix it. Sal, all I'm trying to do, in all sincerity, is enjoy this stage of the sports scene, which I love. I've said many times, a lot of people go to September. Wow, football starts. You know, you got the World Series and playoff baseball, the holidays around the corner. I love that as well. I have always said this is my favorite time of the year. Yankees and Mets. Pretty soon I'll be playing a little bit of golf. Not well, but I'll be out there like many of you. The Masters, the warm weather, coaching the kids, watching baseball, getting out of our homes. You know, in March Madness, hopefully St. John's, Old Knicks. All these things that are so good, and I wake up today. Actually, I saw it last night, but I woke up today and I hear it all over. I see it, and I'm like, even when I want to escape these guys, I can't. Their patheticness just swallows you up.
Same old Jets. I know. Here's the thing. What Mecole Hardman said, and whether you want to take it seriously or not, that's up to you. It is one player. But what he said validated everything that we've been saying, or at least that I've been saying or feeling about the Jets. When you have somebody like that questions the way that the team is being run, where he calls out specifically a lack of discipline, talking about how guys have the helmets on the ground. You've heard that should never be happening in the NFL, whether it's training camp, practice, whatever. Helmets on the ground, lack of accountability, lack of discipline. That is an indictment of the head coach. Until Woody Johnson realizes he needs a new regime, and I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe it's going to be after next year, and then you cross your fingers and hope that he finally gets it right. It's over for Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and the Jets, and they are a laughingstock and will continue to be so until something changes.
I got news for you. I don't know, and I mentioned the offensive line, and this is more micro. The big thing is the macro stuff where the Jets just really are. No matter what they do, no matter what they try, no matter how they try to rebrand themselves, the Jets always revert back to being the biggest losers in sports. It is baffling. It seems terminal, although I'm sure it's not. Eventually, they'll stumble upon success, but it feels that way. And, that's the most frustrating thing about this. Think about the discussions that you and I have had from a Mets perspective. But deep down, even though the Mets will be, I think in spurts this year, very tough to watch, and you're not going anywhere. You're certainly not going to win a World Series. I don't even think you're a playoff team, but at least there's this belief that, well, first of all, 2 years ago you were really good. You still have an owner you believe in who eventually is going to go and get things cooking.
There's direction at least.
There's direction. There's a plan. They're hitting the reset button, which I think that they should do because the Mets minor league system is broken. And by the way, Darryl Strawberry came out yesterday and said, this is exactly what we did before we won our last World Series. So, I don't think the Mets will be good this year. I believe in their vision. The Yankees are the Yankees. The Giants 2 years ago, they're in the playoffs. Obviously, you got to get things going. You got to get more players, but the Giants are still the Giants, even though they've been lean for a while. The Rangers are fun. The Isles are competitive. The Devils have a couple of cups this century. The Knicks are on the rise. Only the Jets, even on a day where they're not even supposed to enter the conversation, just idly standing by, taking strays.
Exactly. You're catching strays.
And they're not wrong. That's the most frustrating part about it.
Well, here's the part. Dion Dawkins, whatever, he just hates the Jets, and that's fine. And you want to talk about hate every one of them. I'm sure he hates the attention that the Jets get without earning it. right? Because of Aaron Rodgers and because they're in New York, actually in New York, not like Buffalo, who, technically is in New York, but not really.
Well,
They're in New York.
No,
it's like Brooklyn. Like Brooklyn, the Nets are not New York. It's
not?
Brooklyn. No, they're not. They're not a New York
We're not
team.
minimizing Brooklyn, are we?
What? The Nets aren't New
I've
York.
already revved up. Please don't start shooting down Brooklyn. Please.
Anyway, so I think Deion Dawkins, it's an isolated thing where I think certain players do either have New York envy or just hate the Jets for the attention. They run their mouths. They're an unlikable, they may be unkillable in some people's minds, but unlikable team as well, and they haven't earned it. They haven't won anything. But the saddest part of this whole thing is that I'm choosing to side with Mecole Hardman, who was otherwise a scrub. I mean, I know he caught the Super Bowl winning touchdown and has been a tag along on the Chiefs championship runs here, whatever. But come on, it's Mecole Hardman. It's not Tyreek Hill, not Travis Kelce. It's not Patrick Mahomes, certainly. He's not a major player on those teams. But I'm trusting him more than I do the Jets. He's confirming, everything he says is confirming how I felt about them. And I think it's sad that we would trust the guy who the Jets cut as opposed to saying, hey, the Jets did the right thing. Mecole Hardman wasn't buying in here. They let him go.
Yeah.
They did the right thing. Let him go back to Kansas City, whatever, and let him be their problem. No, he ended up rising to the top, and I believe him more than I do the Jets. I think that they're just totally inept.
Oh, my God. 877-337-6666, BT and Sal. I mean, it's just a sad, lonely identity. It truly is. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. BT and Sal on the Fan. And this is the crazy thing. Like, if this was another team, you might say, to your point, Hardman, sour
Who cares
grapes,
what he says, right?
Chirping on the way out, whatever. How does anybody, really big picture, give the New York Jets the benefit of the doubt? I mean, they can't even get the turf right.
And it was all
at the stadium.
Right, it's all year long, too. The bickering back and forth, Saleh and Beningo, Rodgers, and saying what he's got to say.
Oh, my God.
It just doesn't stop with this team. Now Hardman comes out, similar to me, to what happened with Tommy Pham, although I think this is even worse. Remember, Tommy Pham gets traded, and somebody asked him about the Mets, and he was saying, those guys don't work hard.
It was the least hardworking team he's ever been on, was the exact quote.
Exactly. Confirming, not that we thought that they weren't working hard, but something was off with the Mets. And Pham confirmed that something was off. Least hardworking team he's ever seen. He's been on a billion teams, and he calls out the Mets. So he confirmed that something was wrong there. And now Mecole Hardman confirming all that we felt about Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh specifically. The worst part that you said, BT, it's the truth. There's no way out. Like, they're not fixing it anytime soon.
No, I mean, even think about this, Sal, and that's the most frustrating thing. Like, I really hadn't thought much about that. I know that Joe was going to. I knew that Joe was going to speak today. Obviously, Joe Shane spoke yesterday for the Giants. I knew that was coming. I figured he'd say some interesting stuff about the draft. We'd react to it, and we'd just go from there. We'd keep it moving. I'd watch St. John's tonight. I watched the Knicks last night. Watch the Yanks. Watch the Mets. Just get on with my sporting life. What is so hard right now is that, even if the Jets, this is what's so sad, even if they were able to stumble upon success this season, somehow stumble upon success.
Aaron Rodgers would be the only reason.
Well, true. And again, yes.
See, he's a guy that I trust to punch back.
I do too. But this is the problem. Even if they have a good year and it's short of the Super Bowl, well, then the next year he's 42. Where are you going?
Right.
Where are you going with a guy that is just about cooked? I think most of us think that. And I'm rooting for him. And I believe that he can play well this year, but he's not going to be here that much longer. A head coach, I don't know anybody that believes in Robert Saleh, except apparently Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas for some strange reason. I think Robert Saleh is a zero as the head coach. And the reason I say that, if you cannot get a locker room to not only be inspired, that's obviously, paramount to any coach, to have a message, to get the guys to back in and buy in, to lead grown men to a certain spot. And I think that there's elements of that to an extent that Saleh can do. But when there is this turmoil, whether it's the helmets, little things that aren't that little, and then you watch Hard Knocks. The Mike White stuff, which I've beaten to a bloody pulp. I don't even think bring it up again. But basically, what head coach sabotages the second overall pick in the draft by allowing some no-name backup scrub up until that point in Mike White to be the guy in the locker room? What a brilliant move. That is fantastic. So and Zach Wilson's done. It's not about Zach. But at that point.
But that plays a part in the ineptitude here with this regime.
A massive part. Zach's hanging by a string, and what does the head coach do? He allows the entire team to basically subvert him. Whatever ounce of confidence remains was gone. So It's this issue after his press conferences. There's no direction. There's no accountability. All the stupid penalties. The thing with Beningo, like if you go in sequence, forget about the losses.
And we have receipts. I mean, Saleh talks about receipts. We have receipts. This is not a personal, vendetta against him. There's no agenda here. I like Robert Saleh personally. Seems like a nice guy.
So do I. It doesn't sound like it now, but I do actually.
Look at the way the Jets have run themselves into the ground here and continue to do so.
Think about the sequence from the Mike White. Again, all the losses. I mean, that's the biggest receipt bump. From the White stuff to the Beningo stuff, which honestly, since WFAN opened its doors in '87, I don't know that there's ever been a more pathetic situation in the history of the radio station. Pathetic not for Beningo, although Joe, those lips got to be sealed. Joe made a mistake. Joe owned it. That was not a great look for Joe. We love Joe, but he messed up. It's a horrendous look for the coach. I mean, texting Joe Beningo, trying to get his message out there, and now you have this. Other guys piling on, pointing out the inadequacies of the franchise, and I can't take it anymore. I woke up happy, and I really am happy. Like, honestly, of the two people, who's grumpier, me or you?
Right now?
No. On the broad scale of grump, it's you. Don't think about it.
What do you mean it's me?
It's always you more than me. I'm not saying I have my grumpy moments, but I'm generally happy.
Of the two people, which one fired their notepad into a...
Well, I'm just competitive. All right, dude. I really didn't want to get sucked into this Jets vortex. It stinks, but it's so apparent today.
I think we're equally grumpy at times. It depends on the mood. It depends on the day.
Understood. All right, 877-337-6666. My God. Eddie's up in Westchester. BT and Sal. Eddie, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's happening, guys?
Hello, Ed.
I feel bad for you, Tierney, about the Jets, but I don't want to hear Douglas talk about the future is bright. I want to hear him talk about why it all failed, okay, and where the mistakes were and who's owning them. Because he had one coach, then he got reset again, then he got a quarterback, then he got reset again. You know what? Just because he makes the playoffs or barely gets in, I don't want all of a sudden he take Woody out, put a couple of drinks down his belt, and stick a contract in front of him.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to – yeah, go ahead, Eddie. Finish up your point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To me, he only gets you need to hear from Woody and say – Woody needs to say, this is the year or things are going to be shaken up. And that's all he's got to say.
Right, but he should do that with his actions. What more does he need to see? The team stunk.
All right, the one thing I want to say about the Jets and the Giants, just look at their stadium. Look at the who they're paying, the level of coaching they're paying. They're on the bottom. They'll never pay for a big coach. They barely want to pay for a big quarterback. They're struggling. They don't know what to do.
Well, how can you say that they barely want to pay for a big quarterback? That's completely inaccurate.
That doesn't make any sense.
The Giants
got
are paying
Rodgers. And Jones is making 40.
Yeah, Woody specifically went out there and said, I don't care what it takes. I want to get a top quarterback in here, and he did it. That's one aspect you give him credit. And the Giants are paying $40 million a year for a guy who shouldn't be getting $40 million a year. They're overpaying for a quarterback. So I'm not sure what you're talking about there. The bottom line is this. I would feel better about the Jets if the owner was in line with my thinking, meaning or feeling, hey, you've given Saleh and Douglas plenty of time here. The results haven't been there. Make a change. Specifically, BT, when there were other options available, he didn't. He's off and running and doing political stuff, which I don't care what he does. But it's showing that you're not prioritizing the team.
It looks like Chris will be back in a couple of years.
Maybe.
Depending upon what happens with the election.
Maybe he'll run it better.
No, he won't. I can promise you that. Chris Johnson will not run it better. That's a fact.
If you or I were running this team.
We'd be better.
Well, it's nothing personal, but you'd see it for what it is and say, okay, well, this clearly isn't working.
Yes.
We need to Mike Vrabel, whatever. Belichick, Vrabel, I personally would have gone all in for Belichick, as unrealistic as it may be. Mike Vrabel, certainly a realistic option. Go get him.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You employ the worst head coach in the league. Now it's been confirmed to a certain extent by one of your former players, and you still sit on your hands saying, we're going to roll it back and hope that things change. It doesn't work like that.
Eddie's point, though, and we'll get back to these calls, 877-337-6666. There's so much positivity on the New York sports scene, but then you get pulled into this nonsense with the Jets, and it's so frustrating because it just doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. And I know that eventually they'll have a new coach, eventually they'll have a new GM, but will they ever have a new feel? That's what I've told this story before, listening to Beningo all those years, and then obviously being a colleague and being down the hall on the national side and being friends with Joe, having played golf with Joe. I know his wife. She's great. Terry's amazing. Joe's the man. But I would always say, I'd say it into a microphone, man, I'm never going to be like Joe. As much as I love Joe, that negativity, that doesn't work for me. But, after a while, you start to understand, like, now he's kind of with everything, but specific to the Jets, like, I for the first time in my life, I am just not bullish on a hopeful future because everything that I give this team, it's not about me, but it's about how I feel, which I believe is an extension of 95% of the Jet fans out there outside of the Iras in the world who think they're always going to draft the home run and win the Super Bowl every year despite sucking. And I look at this team from top to bottom and I say, I don't know where to go. Like, it actually hurt. The next step is the most dangerous step. And that is apathy. That is apathy. Now, that's not going to set in today. Trust me, they will make moves, and they will. I will get revved up, of course, and I'll be on the jet trips with my company. It'll be awesome. But I know that each year, Sal, my interest and my conviction has waned. Like,
especially after the Rodgers stuff.
Yeah, dude. 3 weeks into the season, I'm just like, we're going nowhere. It hurts less.
You ready to say it with me?
Let me get Charlie and Bethpage here. No. I'm not ready to say it.
Okay. Right.
Charlie's and Bethpage. Charlie, what's happening?
Good morning, fellas.
Charlie.
Just really know how to even make more of a dreary day than it is today. Keep picking that Jet scab. I mean, we're in a direction. I can't even look forward to the draft. We need so much help that the draft isn't even going to help us out. And then you're still going to have Saleh at the helm. It's just, we're not going anywhere. And this was a year we could have gotten a proven coach. And again, Woody does not make the right decisions. We got the wrong people running the organization. Even when we look like we're going to turn the gap and we're going to make a run, Rodgers, it looked like we were doing the right thing 2 years ago when we got him. We're a cursed organization. I
don't buy into the word curse, Charlie, because if that's the case, then why are we watching anything? Like,
how about just a dumb organization?
Bad one.
Not cursed.
Well, dumb. But you know what? When you get a guy like Rodgers, a proven factor, and an all-time great quarterback, I mean, to me, I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, he might have not won as many Super Bowls as other guys, but talent-wise, he's one of the best. Who's expecting a guy to go down 4 plays on a Monday Night Football game?
Yeah.
I mean,
that does feed in, Charlie. That does feed into the curse element. Listen, the day that I embraced, like if I'm a Mets fan and I wrap my hands around a curse, then you may as well just give up. I'll never go there. But I want something that Eddie, our first caller, said that I think is very important too today. All right, it is about time. It's about time that Joe Douglas projects a little fire. Like, no, Joe, I don't want to hear at the combine, about the play. You need to communicate today, all right? I mean this. Joe Douglas has to look us in the eyes and speak with a conviction and a level of, it's so easy to say being pissed off. That's so lazy, but you know what I mean. And connect to the soul of the Jet fan and let us know, Joe, that the slop that you've put together and you've overseen ain't going to last anymore. It's unacceptable, and this is it. And, well, what do you mean by that, Brandon? I'll tell you. Go in there today in Indianapolis and tell us if we're not a playoff team, I'm gone, and so is my coach. Step up and say it, because we all know it.
At least show some accountability.
Say it.
There's no risk anyway. We all know it's going to happen.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, what really should happen is the owner should step up and say, this is unacceptable, and I'm making a change now. That's what really should happen.
I mean, it's too late for that now.
Well, why is
at
it
this
too late?
point, because Harbaugh was hired. I mean,
go get Vrabel.
They're not going to do it today because I'm not even saying that I disagree with your concept, but you think about the draft that they are 90% into 80% into probably 70% into their draft evaluations, and you couldn't do that now. Although the Jets have actually allowed one general manager in their past to draft everybody and then fire him basically the next day. So you never know.
I'm not happy with your mood today. And I think when we come back from break, I'm going to try to change it. I'm going to try to
lighten it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make you feel better.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be screaming all day, but I mean,
try to make you feel better.
You are
about your Jets. Make you feel better on the other side.
About the Jets. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go back to
bringing the Yankees up.
I think we're going to contrast Yanks and Mets. That would make me feel better.
No. I don't want to do that. That would be a bad move.
This is a challenge for you. If you can succeed, I will be impressed. But I will be open.